Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 24 of Unlimited Opinions. I'm Adam Bishop.
I'm Mark Bishop.
And this is our last section on Indian mythology, and this time we are looking at some miscellaneous myths of India. We are, of course, reading Jake Jackson's Myths and Legends, a book that details myths and legends from around the world. And this is the last section, as I just said, in Indian mythology.
I have a confession to make that I had a very difficult time with this chapter because I attempted to read it as a passenger in a motor vehicle on a windy 2-lane road. And I suffer from motion sickness when I try to do that. I haven't tried to read anything in a vehicle in years, and this confirmed that it is not a good idea.
Yeah, and then you just took a nap as soon as we got home, and so you're now immediately post-nap coming in to record an episode, so this should be an entertaining experience for all of our listeners.
Well, in my defense, the nap was on a rug on the floor.
Yes.
And I didn't really sleep well because every couple minutes, our little Violet dog would sniff my nose and lick my face.
Yes, so it's not a very successful nap,
No.
I guess.
But, sometimes it's better just to have a little tiny nap rather than sleep
true.
for a while and
That's
you're
true.
all groggy. But I don't know. So I want to apologize to our listener. I may not be on my game 100%.
That's our singular listener out there. So these stories are just generally various important.
By the way, I was on the radio the other day.
Oh, okay. There we are. First interruption.
And I almost,
minute and a half in.
I almost referenced the listener. It's a little local AM station, but I pulled back because I didn't want to specifically insult the host, who's a nice guy.
Yes. Yeah, as I was saying before I was interrupted, these are just various short stories that are just culturally important, have been retold many times throughout India. And the first of these is the birth of Ganga. Sagara.
Ganga.
Yes, thank you. Sagara, the king of Ayodhya, was anxious to have a son, and so he prayed to the saint Brigu for many years until his wish was granted. As Briga said that one of his queens shall bear a son to carry on his line, and the other queen will give him 60,000 children. And so it was.
60,000 babies.
60,000 babies. I'm so sorry. Thank you for correcting me there. And so it was that Queen Kesini gave birth to a son named Ansuman, and Queen Sumati gave birth to a gourd whose rind broke to reveal 60,000 babies.
Seems reasonable.
Yes, as you do. It then came time for King Sagara to make a horse sacrifice to become the Indra, or king of the gods, and Ansuman was given the task of following the horse, as it was free to roam a year before the sacrifice. However, the current Indra began to fear the sacrifice would take away his power, and so he veiled himself as a demon and chased away the horse on the day of the sacrifice. And King Sagara called for all of his sons to find it, and so they began to dig into the earth. The gods were alarmed by this destruction.
Wait a second.
Yes.
I didn't understand why they were digging the earth to look for a horse.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess the understanding is that a demon would take the horse underground. I think that's the idea there. And
That
so
makes
they're
sense.
digging increasingly closer to the center of the earth.
Trying to find the demon.
Yes. And so, of course, the gods were very alarmed by this, and so they went to Brahma. But he was calm, for the earth was protected by Vishnu, and the sons of Sagara would be destroyed. 60,000 leagues were dug into the earth, but King Sagara told his sons to press onwards, and so they did, finally coming to Vishnu himself. And they thought that the glitter in his eyes was a welcoming sign, but then they were turned to ash. Unfortunate for them. King Sagara then sent his grandson, who was also named Ansuman, to look for them, and he came upon the ashes and collapsed in tears. His uncle Garuda then appeared and consoled him, holding the harness of the lost horse, then telling Ansuman that if Ganga would turn her stream below, the waves would wash the ashes pure again, and the 60,000 leagues would be restored, and King Sagara would be made Indra. Sagara thought about this for 30,000 years, and the task fell to his grandson's son, Bhagirath, and after many years of austerity, Brahma came to him and offered to help. And Bhagirath replied, I'm reading from the book here, I would like Ganga to let loose with her holy wave, so that the ashes of the heroes shall be washed pure, and my kinsmen, Sagara's sons, shall ascend to heavenly bliss for the rest of their days. And please, he added, I wish for a son, so that my house shall not end here with me. Brahma said that this would happen if he prayed for this, and Bhagirath prayed for a year, and Shiva promised to sustain the shock of the waters, but Ganga was not happy to come down from heaven. Read these next couple paragraphs again from the book. Ganga threatened to wash Bhagirath into hell with her waters, and as she made for the earth, she was caught by the wily Shiva, who held on to the coils of her hair until her anger abated. Then she fell into the Vindu lake, from which came the 7 sacred streams of India. One branch of the stream followed Bhagirath wherever he went. At last Bhagirath reached the ocean and ascended to the depths where Sagara's sons were lying. Ganga followed until her waters touched the ashes. Suddenly their spirits rose, and like glittering birds, they entered heaven in a burst of light. The faith in this legend has not died. Indeed, one of the most common places of pilgrimage in India is Sagara Island, where the river Ganges and the ocean meet. Sagara's sons and his sons' sons rank high in heaven and will forevermore.
Do you think this is like one of those creation type myths about the creation of the river and the ocean?
I think it is, okay. Yeah. Where you get all these 7 sacred streams, the 7 most important rivers of India, which, as it's kind of said in the book, those are like the most common pilgrimage sites in India is to travel to the river. I know especially the river Ganges has very big importance to the Hindu faith.
Yeah, so what do you think of this one?
I thought it was interesting. I mean, there's
really? That's surprising. You don't find every one of these interesting.
Well, thank you for that comment. But yeah, I mean, it's what was I going to say? I feel like there's.
It was very fascinating.
It was very fascinating. It was very, very fascinating. But no, I really liked.
I have to get you a book of synonyms. But the book will only
be
of the word interesting.
That's fantastic. But no, I think there's definitely some symbolism. We see like 60,000 suns, and they're digging 60,000 leagues. He's thinking for 30,000 years.
Yes.
There's definitely something going on with the number symbolism there. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I don't know. I was going to say it's interesting again.
Yes.
But
it's curious.
Give me mockery. Yes.
Yeah, I would mock you again.
Yes, of course you would. I don't know. What'd you think? Good thoughts.
Yes,
Thank you for sharing. That's going to be on the back of the next T-shirt.
I don't know how you'd spell that. It seemed unnecessarily complicated with the years, and I was surprised by horse sacrifice. I didn't know that was common.
I think that was mentioned at one point earlier on as one of like the most important sacrifices in the Indian section.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of makes sense. A horse has much more importance than really any other animal. I would assume
it's useful.
Much more, utilitarian
you
use.
Do a lot more things with a horse, so it's pretty uncommon, in my understanding, as opposed to like a sheep or some other animal that you would butcher anyway.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's not human sacrifice.
That's true. That's true.
Like the Aztecs, or do they do that, or the Incas?
I can't quite remember which one it was,
or maybe both. I don't know. So, it reminds me of the other creation myths in other parts of the world. They had to dig this big hole looking for this horse, and then it got filled up with the god of water type of thing. So yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. It is interesting that I guess the god of water was not in the earth at first. He was in the heavens,
right?
And so it's interesting that this deity has to come down and fill the earth with water,
right?
As kind of commanded by Brahma, who's sort of commonly represented as, I guess, kind of the leader of the gods, as we've kind of seen him throughout this.
Yeah, like the Zeus.
Yes.
Yep. All right, moving along to the elephant and the crocodile, which is very similar to the hare and the turtle, right? Tortoise and the hare.
It is not, actually.
It's the same thing.
It is actually not, but thank you for that. There was once a royal elephant who lived a happy life with many wives, but he one day felt hot and plunged into an unknown lake. However, he was soon attacked by a monstrous crocodile. The elephant was nearly overcome, but he prayed to Vishnu with great fervor, and Vishnu himself appeared, lifting the crocodile and cutting its throat. It was not just the elephant's devotion that had brought Vishnu, for all events have another meaning, and the elephant was a Gandharva, cursed by a rishi in a past life, who was the crocodile. Reading from the book here, Vishnu says that the elephant of the story represents the human soul of our age, excited by desires, given over to sensual pleasures which are too great to control. There was no salvation for him until he expressed his devotion to Vishnu, who is the only hope for wicked man. What'd you think of this story? This one actually had a moral, which I figured you would like.
No, I do like that. I didn't know that the moral was so transparent. It just seemed like an elephant getting attacked by a crocodile. But then, the explanation was a allegory to, I guess, our pursuits of pleasures.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for ending there. That was
Well, I don't know if
lovely.
there's anything else to say other than
Yeah.
that. It was a little brief excerpt, summary of this little story, and
I guess.
the fact that the crocodile just had its throat slit and it was killed, but that was representing the temptation, I guess, or whatever. So
I guess the idea is, he's hot and he's not thinking. He just immediately wants relief. He wants the pleasure. He doesn't check the lake first. He just dives into what he knows will give him immediate
that's a good
comfort
point.
without checking to make sure it will give him long-lasting comfort.
But if
I
you're an
think is the idea.
elephant, I think you kind of generally can do that unless there's a ginormous crocodile, which you would not expect to be able to take down.
Well, it's a fable, so it's an animal character.
But,
yes.
it would seem like the elephant would not expect, even if he had contemplated the lake, that there would be a ginormous crocodile in there that was going to take him down.
I guess
otherwise he would just be able to stomp it or something.
Maybe so.
So check the water for ginormous crocodiles before you get in.
Yes, that's the true moral of the story. It's
Yeah.
not about temptation. It's about just check the water for crocodiles.
It's a good lesson, though.
That is a good lesson.
It's a common lesson throughout, certainly like the Greek myths, that type of thing. But sometimes, you don't want to do things in excess. Certainly the Western philosophy, Socrates, all things in moderation type deal.
Mm-hmm. True.
So that elephant should have read Socrates before he got in that
that was the elephant's mistake. That really was. The next story is The King, the Pigeon, and the Hawk.
This is like the tortoise and the hare.
It's not, actually. But sure. There was once a story told by Bhishma to Yudhishthira that will cleanse the teller and listener of all sin, and it is this. A lovely blue pigeon was being pursued by a hawk.
That's interesting. Have you? Is there any other type of belief that if you just say something, that it purifies you as the teller and also the listener?
Well, that's a major thing in Hinduism, actually.
I know, but another religion.
I thought you meant you were just specifically talking about this.
No,
story.
because I've seen that several times in this this book.
Well, it's also just certain words too. The idea that, like, I think, I can't quite recall, but I think Sanskrit is considered like the holy language, and so like the stereotypical om is a word that's supposed to like purify you, and there's other words like that are chants that are just supposed to.
It's kind of like why, like in Lord of the Rings, Gandalf doesn't want to use that. Was it the Morgul tongue? Because it's an evil language.
The black speech, yeah.
The black speech, but the other side of it.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything similar to that. I mean, there are prayers. And there, but I think like in prayers and like in Catholicism or Christian religions, they have just the words themselves, just saying them. I don't think does anything.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a belief that they do anything. It's that you are. It's the content of them, the devotional.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's not that you're just saying an Our Father. It's that you believe in what the Our Father is saying,
right?
And that is what sort of.
Although it's similar, though, I guess, because if you say the Rosary, you're saying those prayers over and over again. So maybe it is very similar.
I guess it could be, yeah.
But I think it's slightly different.
But you do need to still. I think the idea is still to have faith in what you are saying. It's not just like people who overhear it will also be purified by you reciting the Rosary.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But lucky for our listeners, they will all be cleansed of sin according to the Hindu belief.
Well, you're just reading a summary of it.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Maybe
you'll be cleansed of one or two sins.
Or maybe help you get over a cold or something.
Yeah, exactly. A lovely blue pigeon was being pursued by a hawk, and it landed on the balcony of King Vishwadarba of Benares, and the king promised to give the pigeon protection. The hawk then appeared, saying that the pigeon was his appointed food, and the king offered deer and boar instead, but the hawk said that was the food of humans, and he needed the pigeon. The king again refused, and the hawk then asked for the king's flesh in equal weight to the pigeon instead, and Vrishadarva agreed. He began to cut away at his body and weigh his flesh on a scale against the pigeon, but the scale never budged, and soon the king was no more than a skeleton. Reading again from the book. There was at once a flash of light, and from the sky appeared a convoy of gods, headed by Indra. The sound of celestial music filled the air, and lotus blossoms tumbled down from the heavens. King Vrishadarba was borne away in a magnificent chariot to take his place in heaven. It can only be true that whosoever protects another shall receive a good end. Another story with a moral for you.
All I can think of is the 1970s era soundtrack for the movie Convoy. Because there's a convoy of gods.
Absolute most ridiculous extreme connection you could have ever made. It's absurd.
Watch out for the Smoky. We're coming down from the heavens in a convoy of gods. I guess the lesson is that if you protect somebody who is weak and in danger and sacrifice yourself, then you'll be rewarded and go to heaven. But it sure seemed like a stupid idea to cut himself apart just for this stupid pigeon.
Well, I think
the pigeon was the anointed food for that particular hawk. Mm-hmm. So he really should have just minded his own business. Don't you think? I mean,
I guess so.
But I guess it was nice of him. Mm-hmm. But he shouldn't have made that bargain, I don't think.
Well, I think the thought was, a pigeon's very light. He would only need to cut away a very little bit. But then the scale did not budge, and so he was bound by his oath and by his goodwill to keep on cutting himself.
Yeah. So I guess he's rewarded for fulfilling his
very self-sacrificial. Again, very similar to Buddhism, I think. Mm-hmm. The complete,
Right.
I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but the complete, not reliance on oneself, the complete selflessness. That's what I'm looking for.
That is selflessness.
Selflessness, yes. That's the word. Mm-hmm. It's a very simple word that I could not remember.
Right. No, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. True.
I like it better than the dudes with all the wives and getting away with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't have. These are better.
Yes,
in my opinion.
I figured you would say that.
Well, I had to say it because you were anticipating it.
And the last story for this section and for the entire section on Indian mythology is that of the Ashvin twins.
That's just like the tortoise and the hare.
It's really not. It's not at all. There once were two brothers, Dasra and Nasatya, the sons of the sky god Surya, and they were the Ashvin twins. They traveled widely, seeking a place among the pantheon of gods. They soon came upon a beautiful woman bathing in a stream.
Again. All
yes.
these young maidens in streams.
This happens all the time in every mythology. And this was Sukanya, the wife of the aged rishi Chavana. The twins then asked who she was and who she was married to, and they expressed surprise that she was married to a man so near death, but she responded with dignity that she loved Chavana. The twins then asked her to leave Chavana and come with them, but she refused. The Ashvin twins then proclaimed that they could make Chavana young again in exchange for her choosing between them for a husband. Sukanya consulted with her husband, and he agreed, and so all three men entered the pool, and when they emerged, they were all equal and identical. In unison, the three asked her to choose between them, and so Sukanya searched for traces of her husband, and as she found them, she found Chavana and chose him again as her husband for life. In gratitude, Chavana then promised to win the Ashvin twins places among the gods, and so the twins went on their way, and the happy couple lived together in great joy. I'm guessing you will not like this one as much.
Yeah, I mean, I would not give up I would not seek the garden of, or the pool of youth in exchange for my wife's, a risk of my wife choosing someone else.
Yeah. It seems very, I guess, contradictory to the absolute just previous tale. Yes. And that's just the giving up of oneself for others.
Right. She's kind of giving herself up by chance.
But I'm saying from Chavana's point of view.
From the dude? Or the husband. Yeah. Yeah, the husband's just a selfish jerk. I want to be young. Go ahead and maybe you marry one of these other two dudes. Yeah. I got a 1 in 3 chance. Really?
He likes his odds, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe I get lucky. I'll be young and have this beautiful wife. Or I'll be young and not have that. I guess he figures, well, maybe you can get a different
wife. Yeah. He's young again. Why not?
Right. But I don't understand her motivation. I guess she's tired of being married to the old coot. I'd rather have anybody. I'd rather marry one of these crazy twins.
Yeah.
Than have this old coot,
It is also interesting that
shuffling around the house.
It's also sure. It's also interesting that Shivana promises to help them get a place in heaven
Yeah.
after they just tried to take his wife from him.
Right.
That's
right.
interesting.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting him to pull out a sword and cut off their heads.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Because now I'm young, and how dare you try to steal my wife from me? But you dishonorable. What do you call it? There used to be a cause of action when you interfered with the relationship of a husband and wife.
I don't know.
It was a common law action. Gosh darn it, I'll think of it later.
You would know better than me.
This off. But you used to be able to sue somebody for having an affair with your spouse.
Huh. Interesting.
It was like interference with marital something or another, and now I can't think of what it is.
Is it not a law anymore?
No, because it just happens all the time, and just people are like, whatever. You know.
That's rough.
It does. Well, you know what? It technically might exist. In some states, but I don't know. You know what? I know it exists in one state because there was a professional ball player who sued their minister. He and his wife went to their minister for counseling assistance, and the minister, seduced, so to speak. The allegations seduced the wife. Basically, the wife and the minister had an affair. And so he's suing for damages and this and that. I mean, I think he's going to have a tough time of it in today's day and age. But gosh darn it, I'll think of it in a second. But I'm trying to look it up.
But it was interesting that you said that you were expecting him to just up and kill the two dudes. I was actually reading a book on Moroccan folktales, and that is the punishment for everybody. Everybody dies in all of those stories.
In Morocco?
Moroccan folktales. Well, just folktales in general, too. I mean, we had that all over the place previously with your punishment is now I kill you.
Right.
And that's, I mean, good for him, I guess, for giving them a second chance and promising them to go to heaven among the gods, but I guess
alienation of affection.
Oh wow, that's a very technical name.
Yeah, well, you're alienating. You're taking it away. So the old like the Muslim. I don't know much about them, but I know the old thing is you get caught stealing, they cut off your hands and that kind of stuff, so you can't steal anymore. Oh yeah, well, I still have feet in the mouth. But yeah, pretty draconian.
Yeah.
But, so Morocco has a lot of death penalty type stuff.
Well, just in the folktales that I was reading about.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying that's actually what happens.
But don't you think that the folktales reference their society?
That's true. That's true.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You have to study the history of Morocco.
I guess so.
It's supposed to be a beautiful place. I don't think. I don't suppose I'll ever get there.
Really?
Yeah, really. I don't think I mean, I'm 51 now, and I've left the country briefly for one trip in the Caribbean. I don't think I'm going to get to Morocco.
The Caribbean?
No, the Caribbean.
The Caribbean, okay.
You know where the pirates are.
The pirates are, yeah, the Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah,
not
of
the
course.
Caribbean.
Not the Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Good talk.
Yes. So what are your thoughts of the Miscellaneous? Or maybe we should just have a recap
of
all
of Indian mythology.
Yes.
I mean, I guess...
I think they rallied at the end.
You think so?
Yeah, in my opinion, as far as the stories at the end, as opposed to the beginning with all the cheats and all that stuff.
I mean, I really like this section. I mean, there's just, I think, like we said in a previous episode, there's just like countless places you can dive in further. Like it's probably just never ending.
Right, bottomless pit of stories and history.
Yeah, we got very brief snippets of like the actual, pantheon of gods and like how like the sort of mythology there works. A lot more moralistic tales, I guess, than we thought there would be, or not just fables, I guess.
Right.
But it's been interesting stuff. I guess the biggest underlying moral message is selflessness.
Yeah.
Just overall, especially when we got the section on Buddhism. But it's definitely been very much, give up oneself for others. Don't go give into material pleasures.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be a theme of, either giving away your stuff or acting as a poor person, just a wandering person with no assets and just, meditating.
I think we saw that with just about every story of a god. Yeah. We had that with Rama first. With Shiva did that. Vishnu did that.
Yeah. At least for some period.
Some period of time where they were all just became beggars, which is interesting. To live, I guess, amongst the poor, live in a poor fashion.
You'd think they treat their poor better than in India, but of course they only have so many resources, so they got a ton of people.
Yeah.
But it also kind of, I don't know if it cuts the other way too, that it's just to be accepted. It's just your lot in life. I think we've talked about that
we did talk
before.
about
There's
that
a little
too.
bit of fatalism that you just accept what you have, and then maybe your next life would be better if you do the best you can with the current life, or accepting of the current life. It's not that kind of standard Western or American value of always trying to improve your status or your financial or situation.
Yeah.
Possibly. I don't know. I don't know anything about their society, really.
Yeah, I don't know much either.
Other than the headlines, I have studied a little bit of Indian history, but it's so long.
Yeah,
it's so in depth, and then I was fascinated with the breakup between India and Pakistan, which is just a brutally sad tale.
Yeah.
No winners in that one.
That's
Lots of people died in that one.
That is brutal. Very uplifting message towards the end here.
Well, I was studying because it's like, people were talking about, well, what's going to happen in the United States if we kind of have some, because of the, all the politicization and the people at each other's throats. We're not really at each other's throats. It's just words.
Yeah.
For the most part. But they had obviously a much more pronounced problem, but it was similar in the way that they were all living side by side. So you'll have minority Muslim communities within a greater Hindu community, and the vice versa, and then you had the other minorities which are neither Hindu nor Muslim, and how do you sort that out?
Yeah.
And it really went south.
Well, it's interesting that you say, it's just words, because I read a long time ago a book about like the biggest languages around the world, and there was a section there about Tamil and the Tamil Tigers, because like a big part of the conflict there between the people who speak Tamil and the people who speak, I think it was Hindi, is the translation of holy books. Which one is the holy language? Yeah. And so there's a huge fight, like over what language the holy book should be written in and what they should be spoken in. That was like a core tenet of part of the fighting there.
Is that right?
Was that in southern India? Or it's in that region. I don't know where exactly.
I thought that wasn't that like an island? I mean,
I think
a
it is.
large island, not like, not like a little one like Hawaii or something.
Is that Sri Lanka? Or am I wrong?
Sri Lanka is the island I'm thinking of. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I shouldn't even speculate, because if our listeners could be like, Bishop, you didn't know what you're talking about.
Well, if you have an issue with what we're saying, you can always tweet at us at ULMTD Opinions. Yes, thank you.
It seemed like the Tamil Tigers and the Hindu people fighting them could not agree on the language, but they certainly all agreed it should be written in blood, right? Because they just wanted to kill each other. And I think a lot of people died in that struggle. But yes, you can get on our Twitter account.
Yes, of course you can.
Tweet it how stupid we are about the Indians. So what's our next one? Is it a
Native American myths?
Native American. I'm interested in that.
I think we are starting with let me see here.
Are we starting with the
Iroquois?
Are we? No, so we're not starting with the illiterate nomads.
Oh no.
Who are almost deified by some people in American society. Oh, we should revert our country to the illiterate nomads. Because they're a superior way of life than the people with, running water and proper wastewater treatment.
These next few episodes are going to be fun ones. We have
no, I don't.
We have 3 episodes on Native American myths. We'll see what he has to say.
Well, the Iroquois, I think, had a pretty.
It goes
pretty sophisticated society, in the East.
And they had big confederations. The big
but
Iroquois
they're not what a lot of people consider the traditional Native Americans. The nomadic butchers that were in the West.
Yeah, so we could talk about that in our future episodes. I think it'll go Iroquois myths, Algonquin myths, and then various Native American myths. So we'll have 3 episodes where you can rant as much as you want.
Well, whatever their history is not properly documented. Do you know why?
Because they were illiterate?
They were illiterate nomads.
Fantastic. Thank you for that.
They had no language. I mean, they had a
Well, they had
verbal
language,
language.
yes.
They had a verbal language. They didn't have a written language.
Yes.
How can you advance as a society if you can't write something down? Because you have to remember everything. How do you fix that refrigerator? I don't know. I have to ask our refrigerator repairman to restate everything to us verbally because you can't write it down.
Well, okay. We can get into that in future episodes. I've been Adam Bishop.
I'm still Mark Bishop.
And this has been Unlimited Opinions. Oh boy, this is going to be something.
I blame my motion sickness on those comments. That was not myself.
Yeah, I'm sure.